Well, listen, at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick's still blackballed. The reasoning has just shifted. And I think it's instructive, and I think it's important for the audience to understand over the last 3.5 years the different layers of reasoning we've gone through instead of just admitting the obvious, which is Colin Kaepernick's been blackballed from the NFL. In 2017, that's what I would call the year of plausible deniability. It started with, in the summer of 2017, oh, he's definitely going to get signed. We just have to wait for an injury. That was the general consensus among folks that didn't want to admit what was clearly going on. That reasoning then shifted to, well, okay, he can be a backup somewhere, but there's only a few teams where that would be a system fit. You want your backup to have the same style as your starter. And we always knew, at least some of us knew, that was nonsense. It was proven out to be nonsense the next season when Lamar Jackson took over for Joe Flacco for a team that was dead in the water, totally different stylistically, and led him to the playoffs. And that reasoning then went on to, all right, well, the problem is, would he have enough time if you brought him in, even if there was an injury? Wouldn't you be better with your backup because he hasn't been in the offense? He hasn't been in the system. And that was shown to be laughable on its face when Jacoby Brissett started a football game for the Colts 15 days after they traded for him. So that's what 2017 was about. 2018, the plausible deniability gave way to just outright lies. It started with, well, you know what? I don't think his teammates like him. I think he was a bit of a cancer, ignoring the fact that he won the most prestigious award voted on by the 49ers teammates, the Lynn Eshmon Award. Then it was, you know what? Now that I think about it, he's actually terrible. You know what? He's a bad football player, ignoring the fact that he's top 6 in the history of the NFL in interception percentage, touchdown interception ratio, and folks even recreated history saying he got benched for Blaine Gabbert, which never actually happened, and then the outright lie of he wants $25 million. That was made up out of whole cloth as an excuse for Kaepernick not to be in the league. And then 2019, the lies gave way to the undefinable. Does he actually want to play? Even though he'd made clear at every step he does. Well, you know, we know it's unfair and we know it's a blackballing, but the NFL's a business and fans hate him, totally ignoring the whatever percentage of fans it is that he was one of their favorite or most popular players. And then in 2019, it became, well, you know, can he even still play? Is he in shape? And then we saw the workout this past November where he's clearly in shape and he clearly can still play. So the only thing left was as a distraction. It's such a hot button topic, such a polarizing issue. And now that the majority of Americans understand he was right, now that the NFL has admitted without saying his name, he was right, we've given way, I listed 9 excuses there, to the 10th and final one, which is, damn, it's a shame. That blackballing that happened, it took too long for us to realize, and now it's been too long, which of course is also nonsense. Chad Henne, the backup quarterback for my Kansas City Chiefs, since 2016, when Cap was a starter, has thrown 5 passes. In the same time frame, Cap's thrown 330. Aldon Smith has been out of football a year longer than Cap. He's on the Dallas Cowboys right now. Folks, for the better part of 4 years, Wilds, have done their best to deny what is patently obvious. Colin Kaepernick had his career taken away from him because he made a stance. He made a stand. And now the country is realizing he happened to be right about that stand, and he's still not going to be able to play football again.
See, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you, Nick. I think that we've seen a sea change here from Goodell, from the league, and from what Pete Carroll said. And I know Pete Carroll has always is an optimistic guy, but I don't think there was a reason for him to volunteer the fact that teams are called, or a singular team called him to ask about him. That makes me think that we're headed in the right direction, that Cap is going to get a shot, and that Cap's perseverance that he's shown throughout these last 3.5 years, he's been on Instagram with his day count of how long he's been out and constantly showing that he is ready. He was ready in the tryout. I think I have a more, maybe I hope it's not naive optimism, but I'm optimistic that he will be on an NFL field or with an NFL team this year, Broussard?
Look, I do feel like for the NFL to make good on its apology that Roger Goodell issued, Kaepernick needs to be on a team. He needs to at least have the opportunity to play. If otherwise you're just speaking words that really don't have any meaning, and a lot of people are doing that right now. And I think Pete Carroll was talking out of both sides of his mouth. Okay, he says, we regret not signing him back in 2017. We should have done it. Well, if you regret it, do it now. Nothing has changed. Russell Wilson is still embedded as your starter, so there won't be a controversy. It's not like if Russell has a bad game, people are going to say, put Kaepernick in, so you don't have to worry about that. In fact, you know what? One thing has changed. The one excuse that Pete Carroll gave for not signing Cap, he's a starter. He really is. He's good enough to start. He's too good to be a backup. We can't sign him for that reason. Now he is a backup. Now he could become a starter in the future, but no one in their right mind would say after 3 years off, he's ready to step into the NFL right now and start. So that excuse is gone, kind of the Knicks point. So now what's the excuse? Geno Smith? You signed him to a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. In the last 3 years that Cap's been out, Geno has thrown 54 passes. So he hadn't really been that active either. And obviously Kaepernick is better than Geno Smith or has been throughout their careers. He's only 32 years old. The styles of play that a lot of teams are adopting, obviously Seattle, could fit for Kaepernick. And Pete Carroll said yesterday, I've always said over the years that if something happened and Russell got tangled up and couldn't play for some reason, Kaepernick would be an extraordinary candidate to replace him. Sounds like the perfect fit in Seattle. Now, I get it. If another team wants to sign him and he has a better chance to eventually play, that's one thing. But Carroll is like a lot of people nowadays, speaking out of both sides of his mouth on this Kaepernick issue.
With respect to all those excellent points you made, Broussard, my only pushback would be you're operating from a place of logic on this. This has never been about logic. This was a player who was blackballed, and we know it. And if we try to reverse engineer why now he could get he had his career taken from him because he decided to make a stand that at the time was unpopular amongst the majority of Americans. And even though right now the majorities have flipped, it is still unpopular amongst a large segment of the population. It does not matter that the people who are angriest at Cap have been exposed as utter frauds. It does not matter that the people who are angriest at Cap about kneeling during the national anthem because it disrespects the flag and our military are the exact same people angriest at NASCAR right now for banning the Confederate flag, which is the single most disrespectful thing you could possibly display to our troops, the flag, and our military, since it's a flag that represents an insurrection against our military. It's never been about 1 + 1 = 2. It's always been about 1 + 1 = X, and you just have to trust us. And so, listen, I don't know that there's, I should admit my bias on this on the front end. I don't know there's a person in the national media that has a closer relationship with Colin than I do. And I will tell you guys what I told him the last time we sat and talked when he said, do you think I'm going to get another shot? And I told him no. And the reason I mentioned that is because there is this other almost narrative that, well, he's not going to play again, but it's actually better for his cause for an era of martyrdom. I am telling you, I sat next to that man and looked into his eyes, and I thought he was going to cry. For as much as he cares about the cause and the people and all the great work he does, he worked his entire life to have a chance to do what he loves, which is run through that tunnel and play football. When he started kneeling, he understandably did not think he was going to be forfeiting his career. It has been taken from him. And even if he has been proven right on the merits of the bigger issue, it is still damn near criminal that someone who worked as hard and was as good at the time as he was doesn't get to do what he loves to do, as it would be for any of us if we had our passion stripped of us for reasons absolutely out of our control that now everyone understands, oh, he was right about too.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.